Hi guys, today we're going to talk about how to distract your dog's teeth from touching skin. If you notice your dog is starting to nip your skin, give it a toy, distract it, or give it something that it likes so it can chew and distract its mouth from nipping on your toes or feet. Now that's called play mouthing, but you want to distract it from putting teeth on hands or feet or toes. That should definitely be a no-no. You want to discourage aggression before it starts. Because once it's two or three, you won't be able to stop it if you didn't train it when it was young. If a dog starts nipping a child, tell the child to turn around, not panic, not say name, just yell, ouch, like the mother would, or make a growl sound so it knows, hey, that's not right. So the dog knows that it hurt someone and it won't do that. Because maybe doing that will distract it or go to the dog every time it's out of place or it wanders to somewhere it shouldn't or start digging. You put something to distract it from digging, like giving it a ball to play with, or put a treat and train it to be distracted more on the treat than where it's digging. And that way you'll discourage digging. Always discourage digging. That way the dog knows that digging is not acceptable. It's just the same, it's a pattern, it's a behavioral. Another thing that I notice with dogs is never ever, when it's very young, to let it wander off. You should always keep a 10-week old puppy or even um, a 10-month-old puppy on a leash, because what is going to happen, a little puppy won't know that running off the leash could cause it to be hit by a car, or someone could accidentally hit it with a bike and it won't see it. So always keep your puppy on a leash and train it to come back when called. And praise the dog for coming, because that's rewarding. Another thing you should do is always try to throw a treat in your wading pool to train your dog to use the wading pool. And even try to get it to lie down in the wading pool, which is hard, but I've even throwing a treat and it acknowledged the wading pool or whatever. Then you say good boy, good girl. Every time it does that and you throw the treat in the pool, it'll keep going in the pool, and then suddenly it'll get used to the pool. So then it won't have to be that way. If you see a toy it likes, then throw that toy in the pool. It will definitely go and get it. So when you do that, you're telling your dog that going in the pool is rewarding. That water isn't an enemy, it's your friend. Another thing you should train your dog to do is tire it out. Let it run in the backyard. Tire a dog out, because once the dog is tired out, it will have no need to bark. It only barks when they're bored and they're not tired out. So let the dog in the backyard to get energy out so it will be tired out. Another thing about dogs, you want to tire them out when they're young so they don't start barking and the neighbors pound at the door. That's how you keep your neighbors happy too. You keep the dog happy. Everyone's happy. Then they could sleep. They could say, ah, that's so peaceful. People don't like to hear a dog bark. I don't know what it is, but people are upset when they hear a dog bark, or it bothers them. I mean, seriously. A dog barking at people going by for a little bit, okay, but then when they overdo it, it's annoying. So bring the dog in if it's gonna bark and bark and bark and non-stop. Then it learns that every time it overbarks, it has to come in the house and use its indoor voice and put it in its crate. Because then it learns that barking outside to the point where people are shushing it, that's not good. Take it inside. Don't let the neighbors get upset with your dog. That's the last thing you want with your neighbor. It will ruin your relationship with a neighbor. Another thing is always say, no, don't pet my dog, and keep walking. Please don't pet my dog and keep walking. That's all you say. Every time you say that, people will lay off. If you say it politely, people will lay off. If you say it in a hostile manner, well, people get rude and they get disrespectful. So keep your dog away from people. And if you see someone walk towards your dog to pet it, take the dog and go home. Or go in the backyard where it's safe. No one will pet it in your backyard with the gate closed. So that's another thing you can do. Um, Dogs are like people in some ways. They have their own personality, same as humans. They have their own attitude, but the more likely that dogs are aggressive are the little Chihuahuas and Pomeranians. I don't know, Pomeranians are very aggressive because they're so small and so tiny. They feel because of their size, they have to be aggressive. Now that's because they're so tiny and so wee that it makes them that way, and people carry them under their arms where you should put on a leash. There's nothing going to hurt the dog on a leash. It's a pack animal, it has to be on the ground. The thing is, when a dog's so tiny, people think that's a reason to carry it and put it in a bag and don't allow it to walk on a leash and put it in a baby pram. Well, that's not a good thing because then you have a spoiled, entitled dog. It's like pushing an 8-year-old in a baby pram. You have a spoiled, entitled kid then. It's the same. You don't want to spoil your dog or ruin it. The training is necessary. You have to take a dog to obedience when it's young so it knows that there's certain things you don't want your dog doing, and it's for you and for your safety. If you train a dog when it's young to not touch hands and feet and bite the hands and feet, then you say, ouch, really loud. Just yell, ouch, like it's painful, really loud, so it knows, oh, I hurt you. And then it knows that it's not to touch skin. Give it a toy, distract its mouth from biting you. Every time it bites you, give it a toy. Put a toy in its mouth or chew toy in its mouth so it doesn't have to realize that biting a human hand or feet is a good thing, because it's not a good thing. But once it has a chew toy or a toy to bite on, then you're teaching it okay things to bite on. That not all biting is bad, but you want to bite on the appropriate thing. It's like when a child learns to ride their bike. Get them used to the bike. Make them touch the barbells. At least it attempted to ride a bike, and then have them sit on the bike. At first, that's how you're going to get your child used to a bike, because one day it will have to ride a bike. It will be too big for a pram. That way, your child learns a bit of independence. And once it has a bike, it can go visit their friends and that. Whereas a dog, how you get a dog used to a leash is to put the leash on in the house and have it walk by itself on the leash several times in a fenced in backyard where it can't escape, and just keep making it walk on the leash till it gets used to the leash. Once you see it doesn't attack the leash, then you can go to the next step. Because taking a dog for a walk is public. Once you see it get used to the leash, then you put the leash on and you try it in the front yard and see how it does. If it doesn't pull you, then you go a little forward. And then you keep going further every time it doesn't pull you. So it knows that pulling is not going to be acceptable and not be allowed. And when it stalls, you keep going. So the dog knows to follow you. And always get it to follow you and have it in the same spot all the time. And then you have a well mannered dog.